thanks to Mid-North Young Guns for inviting me along today. So I'm down to talk about keeping your sheep safe from foxes and wild dogs. So a bit of a change of pace from the other talks we've had this morning, but ultimately I suppose it's all related back to keeping your production up. So, I don't know, I might just put that down. So briefly I'll just talk about best practice for feral animal management. Then I'm going to talk to you about this great app that I'm really trying to promote as much as possible at the moment called Feral Scan. I'll get to that. And then talk about basic management tools for fox and dog control. So ultimately, I really loved the quote that Hamish had up at the beginning of his talk, which said something along the lines of, what was it? A goal without a plan is really just a wish. And it's the same with pest management as well. So without having a solid plan to control those invasive animals on your property, you really, everyone would love for there to be no feral animals, we were just saying that. So if there were no cats and foxes and wild dogs and things like that, that would be really good. But we need to have a strategic plan about how we can do those things. And to do that, it's really important to understand the problem and assess the impact. So, you know, you might have a chat to your neighbour over the fence and say, oh yeah, so I've had heaps of foxes, and I can say that because I sell baits. So I can say that since last year we've had almost a 50% increase in bait sales than we've had over the previous year because people are just saying there's so many more foxes around. So I work predominantly in the lower Mid-North district, so up to Port Pirie, out to Burra, and as far south as Hamley Bridge. So in that sort of area we're having so many baits being sold because of the high fox problem at the moment. But without having any of this information sort of recorded, it's really hard to manage that. You guys don't know, yeah, you see a few more foxes out in your paddocks, but really you don't get to see all the data that I get to see about my sales and things. So it's really important to understand how the problem is affecting you and what is the impact. Like how much does it affect your production values by how many lambs are purportedly taken by foxes or wild dogs, depending on where you are. It's important from that to be able to develop clear and measurable objectives. It's just not feasible to say that you want to eradicate foxes and dogs from your area, because that's not going to happen if you're the only person that's doing it. Foxes don't, and pest animals don't know property boundaries whatsoever. So it's really important to keep records of what you're doing so that you can progress towards achieving the objectives. And so we were talking about before, keeping those records of your rainfalls, your lambing percentages and things like that. And the way that you approach fox and dog control should be no different. And really the step 3 is where most people start, is about developing and implementing a plan of action. So you've got heaps of foxes on your place and you want to get rid of them. Okay, we'll go see NRM and buy some baits. How do you put them out? And what times of year are you putting them out? Are you talking to your neighbours about it? These are all really important things that people don't do, and they just come and say, oh, I've got a fox problem, I need to buy some baits, and thank you. The next thing is to monitor and evaluate, so that if you're not having good uptake of your baits, or you're still seeing the foxes around, maybe you need to modify it, change the way you're putting them out, change some of your frequencies, or change the way that you're approaching it as a whole. Now, the PestSmart website, it's a national website that I would highly recommend anyone to visit if you're really serious about controlling feral animals, any feral animals on your place. Their website ranges from mice to camels, the same as the app does. It is a national based website, so it's always really important to refer to your local NRM board to see what our state policies are in terms of some of the practices, because some may not be allowed in different areas of the country. Thanks, Miranda. So I'm jumping a bit between dogs and foxes, because really the way that we control them here in Northern Yorke is quite similar. But I just wanted to highlight that there are 2 strategies that we're really guided by in terms of wild dogs. And one is the Wild Dog Action Plan, which it's a bit out of date being from 2014, but it does have on-ground implications that are still happening today. So if you're interested, that's available on the PestSmart website. Also, the South Australian Strategic Wild Dog Plan, we're right at the beginning of that at the moment, and so hopefully if we'll be able to see some of the outcomes that that strategy is going to give to us soon on the ground. Thanks. So this takes me to this fantastic thing called the Feral Scan app. So the Feral Scan app, you can pick up one of these cards for me. It's for all of the different animals that you can see on the screen. So as I said, from mice to camels and everything in between. And what you can do on this app is actually set up groups, and you can actually monitor everything that you're seeing on your property. So it's about community sourcing the information about what you're seeing on your property, community mapping. So pretty much you can enter sightings, damage or controls that you're doing on your property. Of course, it's going to ask me to log in again. Sorry, bear with me. So pretty much your groups, you can create an online group, which is really simple. There's actually videos on their website about how you can do this. So you create a logon and that gets you into the website. And then specifically from there, you have access to wild dog scan, fox scan, rabbits, whatever. So then it's really simple about how you can do that. But the benefits of it is that everyone in your group can see the information that you're putting in. So you can see where people have sighted or where people around you are doing good control. What this enables you to do is to target your methods of control so that you can see how other people are behaving and what they're doing. And it also gives you an overarching sort of strategic approach. So I'll just get you to skip to the next one, I think. So pretty much in what I'd call the Mid-North Young Guns sort of zone, we've not really got any dog sightings recorded. Well, that's really good because you don't want them. But is that because there's a lack of data, or is that because they're just not present here? So that's where this information is really good, because you could just look at this map and be like, oh, we don't have a problem anywhere down here, even up around here. See, look, nothing. And if any of you are from that area, you know that that's just not true. Just skip on to the next one. And you can see up here, the Northeast Pastoral Zone is doing a really good job of using this app and collecting this information. One of the reasons is because there's a really big project up there run out of the SA Aridlands area, which is about controlling, or not, well, it's about controlling, keeping down fox and dogs numbers because of the yellow-footed rock wallabies that have been found and reintroduced into a number of places, and keeping their populations in really good numbers in the Flinders Ranges National Park and out at Bimbouri here. So this is the Northeast Pastoral Zone here, and you can see if I was able to get it up on my app here, which I could be able to do at the end of the day when we're having some drinks. When you click on these different dots, they tell you whether there are sightings, whether there's control being done. And this has allowed this group to continually apply for funding as a whole for aerial control, where they're dropping baits out of planes, probably not appropriate in this sort of environment, but up there it's working really well. And it's because of their continual use of this app and recording their sightings and the control that they've been doing, that they've really been successful in continuing for some of that funding as well. So if we go over to the foxes on the next one, you can see down here, this is all down around Gawler, Wasleys, Freeling, Newry. All around this area is about where people are recording sightings and a little bit of the control that they're doing as well. So if you looked at this, maybe is there no problem up in this area? I don't know, is it just lack of data, or is it just not a problem at all? So what I would do is to implore you to download this app and have a look, because this is all freely available to you. It's a free app. You can see what other people are doing, and just go out into your paddock. It doesn't matter if you don't have phone reception or no internet out where you are. If you push on your phone or your iPad and put a dot there, it will immediately upload when you're back into service or back into Wi-Fi or what have you. So you don't have to worry about it not communicating at the time. So there we go. Sorry, I just needed to be able to log on it's looking for my location. So I've said that I've seen a wild dog. It automatically includes your position and your lat and long. If you're doing this on the web-based version, you can edit all of these factors as well, and you can drop a pin. You can say how many you've seen. You can say whether it was live, dead, sick, howling, what have you. Record any notes. But also, if you were recording damage, you could take a photo of your lamb that's been, if there's any remnants left there, you could take that photo and that would be recorded here. If you set up groups, your group information is, you can select whether you upload your information into your group only or into the community as a whole. So all the information that's here is available community-wide because it's not logged in as being a member of a group, but perhaps that's something for your group to consider in the future. Then you submit and it will automatically come up as a dot on your map. I don't want to do that because I haven't seen a dog at the Mintero Oval. Yeah, so it's really good that you can report these on either using the app or on the website. And I think that this will really allow us to be able to come up with some coordinated approaches in the future. In the Northern and Yorke region, we do coordinated fox baiting at regular intervals. Usually we do a spring and an autumn baiting. So we'll be coming up, the next one will be around when many of you will start lambing. And the idea is that because NRM officers are the only ones authorised to sell 1080 baits in South Australia, the idea is that we try and get as many people to a distribution day as possible so that then throughout the coming months I don't have to have someone coming in every day. It takes about 20 minutes to run through it with one person when it can also take 20 minutes for me to run through it with 30 people. Just makes it be a little bit more efficient, and I understand that that's quite selfish, but it also allows you, if you get your neighbours along, you don't have to give them a call because you're all in the same room at the same time. You must notify your neighbours 72 hours prior to laying baits. So that gives you an opportunity to be able to do that in person there and have a catch up and talk about anything else that you want to at the time as well. So anyway, I really would just want to talk about the app predominantly, but you don't just have to use 1080 to control foxes and wild dogs, although it probably is one of the most common ones that I see out here being used, probably apart from shooting. We also do have PAP baits. So this is a bait that is used by some people, especially if they're concerned about their own pets and working dogs. So this one actually has an antidote that can be administered by vets. So our 1080 baits now have a marker bead inside them. So if there is suspected that your dog has taken a bait, you would be able to prove that, but it's usually too far for you to be able to revive your animal. But with the PAP, if you saw that your dog was suffering some effects, you could take it straight to a vet and it potentially may not be affected. Those baits are slightly more expensive, but they are a good option for those people who don't bait because of the risk to their own pets and working dogs. Trapping with foxes can only be done with a cage trap due to animal welfare reasons. So that's an option. Foxes, of course, you can use the padded leg hold traps, but they also have to, I think, must have strychnine. There's a few other things that are involved with the trapping of wild dogs. We also have pest ejectors. Has anyone in here utilised or know about pest ejectors? Yep. One. So pest ejectors, they're designed to help target off-target damage. So people who have conservation blocks or who have a lot of chicken farms have been buying them from us as well. So places where you have limited distance restrictions, obviously with 1080 you have to be at least 500 metres from a dwelling for the bait to be laid. That's reduced with pest ejectors, and what it is something that you bang into the ground, and then this meat bait or dried meat bait sits on top, and it has a capsule of 1080 powder that's put into this sort of mechanism. The idea is that an animal has to be a dog or a fox pretty much, put its mouth over it and pulls up on the bait, then the powder will eject straight into their throat. So this stops them from being able to just cache baits, for example, or take one, walk it up the street a little bit, drop it on the side, and then maybe someone else's pet or working dog could take that bait as well. Also really important for people who are wanting to, who have an issue with off-target damage, maybe with large raptors or something taking their baits, and if they have concerns about the impacts on native species as well. So that's another one that we also have at our disposal. And then you've got the other methods which maybe are less invasive. So fencing, for sort of restricting animals moving in. So you could think about building, depends how much money you wanted to spend, a feral-proof exclosure with foot netting and a floppy top, depends which way you want to go about things. Guard animals, so whether you have your own animals out there, or sometimes also using the aversion techniques like the lights, flashing lights, and also using the other animals that can sometimes deter, like alpacas and things.